Hello friends and welcome. Today we're going to talk about Creep Aggro, which is an incredibly important skill to know if you want to gain MMR, but it is not a very clear topic. The game doesn't really explain it. You have to dive deep into outside resources, and even if you watch those, you'll notice there's some slight differences in how people understand it because it's a confusing topic, and sometimes the creeps will just do something that even the pros are like, why is this creep doing this? It's weird. I can't promise to be any better, but I'm going to explain what I know and have tested and understand about Creep Aggro, and it is sufficient to get me to like high 6k, which I think will be pretty good for most people looking to gain MMR. Let's start with the creep's general behavior, and then we'll talk about exceptions and how to manipulate it. So creeps will try to attack whatever is closest to them. They are killing this creep right now, and once they finish killing it, they're going to look for a new target. Because I, Marana, am closer than the Pudge, they're going to go to me. Now, if two targets are relatively close together, what that means, I don't know, because there is not an exact distance anywhere written down. If a unit is attacking, they will prioritize that unit who is attacking their ally. So, for example, if we have Pudge start attacking these creeps, you'll notice they don't switch to Pudge right away because they are already locked onto me and I am within their attack range, so they don't look for a new target. But as soon as I start running, I'm going to be outside of their attack range, and they're going to reevaluate what they should be prioritizing, and because Pudge is attacking, they're going to choose Pudge over Marana. Creeps have a vision range of 750 units, which you can see here, but there's another range you should know called acquisition range. This is the range in which they will look for a target when they need one. So melee creeps have an acquisition range of 500, range creeps have an acquisition range of 600, and catapult waves have an acquisition range of 800. Another thing you might want to know is attack range. The range creep has an attack range of 500, melee creeps have an attack range of 100, which is shorter than a usual melee hero, and then catapults have an attack range of 690. If you need help visualizing those ranges, there is a console command you can use called Dota range display, and then you type the number you want. So I'm going to type 500 for now. It'll make sense in a moment. You cannot use this in real games, by the way, only in demo mode and custom lobbies. So I'm going to go ahead and spawn a creep wave now, and when I stand around here, I am within the vision of these creeps because they have 750 vision, so they see me, but they will not attack me because I am outside the 500 acquisition range. That is this green circle. If this melee creep were to be within this green circle, that means it is within 500 range of me. That's the acquisition range, and now it is going to target me and chase me until it kills me or it loses sight of me. A little bit more on that in a moment. But the range creep is actually a 600 range, so it's more like out here, and if it walks through that area, it's going to target me. So to now show that, they're walking outside, but I am close enough. This range creep right outside this 500 range because it's actually a 600 range. If there are no other viable targets nearby, creeps will chase a target until they lose sight of it. Once they lose sight of it, they will go up to the last point they saw the hero and then give up and go back to their lane if they cannot see the hero. So we're going to have Pudge come up this cliff, and then you'll see the creeps chase up to this point. They don't see Pudge, so they give up. Sometimes this is not so perfect because sometimes they do walk up to the cliff, you see, and they got a little bit of vision here, and so sometimes they will see the hero and continue chasing uphill. However, if you want to guarantee this, what a lot of people will do is turn around once they're on the hill and attack a creep and then continue running. This way the creeps have vision of the hero because, you know, Pudge attacked them, and so they will now continue chasing up the hill. That is a way to guarantee it. This chase mechanic is a little more obvious when you turn around trees because the creeps lose sight of you around the trees, but they will go up to that point, and then because they can now see around the tree, they continue to see you and they will continue to chase. So if you read the Dota wiki, the creeps are supposed to chase you as long as they have vision, unless you are outside of the acquisition range for more than 2.3 seconds. So if we're Rubik here and we blink ahead of these creeps and we are well outside that 500 range, but they have vision of us because of this observer ward, they're supposed to give up after 2.3 seconds and then go back to lane. So says the wiki, but you'll see that 2.3 seconds pass, and these creeps don't give a shit. They want to kill this Rubik so long as they have vision of him. So this is one of those things where it's kind of weird. I think in the past it did work, and I don't know if it was changed and no one knows and the Dota wiki wasn't updated or like it's bugged. Who knows? So now let's talk about how to draw Creep Aggro to yourself and break this general behavior. I want you to think of this as another ability your hero has. It's a passive that just doesn't show up on here, and you can use this ability every 3 seconds, and it has a 3-second cooldown once you use it. you'll see that these creeps are attacking my creeps. Because they already have their target, they're not going to look for a new one, and so I can just walk through this creep wave and they won't do anything. If their target dies, they might target me if I'm the next closest thing, but otherwise they will prioritize my creeps. But if I want to draw creep aggro to myself intentionally or not by accident, what I can do is issue an attack command on an enemy hero. This activates my passive ability that we're pretending we have called draw creep aggro or something, and as long as I'm within 500 acquisition range of the creeps, they will now prioritize me because I am attacking their heroes. We play Defense of the Ancients, but the creeps play Defense of the Heroes. And if their heroes get attacked, they prioritize whoever is attacking that hero. And you don't even have to actually launch an attack. You can just issue the attack command. So I'm going to stand here. I'm going to press A on Pudge because that's my attack command. And you see that the creeps come attack me. And they will do this for 3 seconds. If I run away after issuing that attack command, in fact, I'll just show you, they will chase me for 3 seconds before giving up. If I draw creep aggro and then just stand still, you'll notice that these creeps continue to attack me for more than 3 seconds. This is because we're back to general behavior where they have their target and so they're not going to change targets. I have to run away out of their attack range and then they will reconsider their attack priority, and because these creeps are going to be closer and they are attacking either Pudge or these creeps, they have a higher priority than me even if I stand relatively nearby, and so then the creeps will go away from me. If you read the Dota wiki, you're actually supposed to draw creep aggro as long as you issue an attack command within the acquisition range of the creeps, which for melee is 500 and the range creeps is 600. But you'll see here that when I'm standing here, this is a 600 range circle around me, so this melee creep is actually out of the 500 range, but I should draw the attack, the anger of this range creep, but I don't. It's only when I stand closer within 500 range and issue an attack command that this creep then aggro's over. So again, another part that I don't know if it's bugged, I don't know if it's changed and just no one documented it or whatever, but it does seem to be that you only draw creep aggro within 500 acquisition range rather than the individual acquisition range of each creep. Will that be fixed and changed later? I don't know, but I'm just going to point it out so you guys are aware of that. One common application of creep aggro is to pull the creeps towards you to get back to the safety of your own tower. The off lane uses this at the start of the game, but when the lane equilibrium meets up here, carries use it to pull it back this way. Mid players use it all the time, and supports should do this as well if it's too dangerous for their cores to walk up. We're not going to worry about when you need to do that so much as the mechanics of it in this particular video. So I'm going to use Axe here to pull these creeps back, and based on that 3-second cooldown earlier, I'm going to issue this attack command on Drow, run away, and you'll see they chase me for a little bit before they lose focus and start attacking the creeps here because of that 3-second duration. So if I want them to chase me further, what I need to do is stop before those 3 seconds end and allow them to attack me. So we're going to do it again. I'm going to issue that attack command on Drow, run for a little bit, and then walk back and make sure they attack me. A lot of people will tell you that you actually have to attack the creep, and that's not actually fully true. It can help, but as long as they are actually attacking you, they will stop. So you see that this melee creep is still attacking Axe. I kind of messed it up on this melee creep. He did not start attacking Axe before that 3 seconds ended, so he turned around to attack these other targets that were close by and actually chasing him. But this one is attacking me, so he is not changing, even though his friend right here is getting the shit kicked out of him by these creeps. They're technically a higher priority because they're actually attacking an allied unit, but because he already has a target, he doesn't care. Once I run away, he's going to care and he's going to switch, for example, right here, because he reconsiders his attack priorities once I'm out of his attack range, even though I am within the acquisition range and vision range. I am out of his attack range, so he reconsiders. You can also manipulate the way creep aggro works to harass enemy heroes without drawing creep aggro. This is very important for all players, but supports, especially range supports, use this the most. Since we're not actually doing the last hitting, but we want to harass, you don't want to draw creep aggro because it messes with the equilibrium, so you want to be able to harass without doing that. So I'm going to bring Axe into this creep wave, and if I were Drow and were to attack Axe right now, I would draw creep aggro because these creeps are within 500 range of me and I'm issuing an attack command on Axe, so they're going to attack me. I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stand outside of acquisition range. I'm going to issue an attack command on Axe, and that's going to use my passive draw creep aggro ability. It's going to fail because there are no creeps within 500 range of me, but it still goes on cooldown for 3 seconds. And that means I can now walk into range of these creeps within that 500 range, and I can attack Axe, and I can't use my ability, right, to draw Creep Aggro because it's on cooldown, and now I can attack Axe for free. So here's the attack on Axe. I walk in, I attack Axe, and they don't care. Now, if I keep attacking Axe, that 3 seconds is going to pass, and I'm going to have that ability to draw Creep Aggro again, and they're going to start chasing me, and then, like, that's an issue. So if I want to continue to harass Axe, I have to repeat this trick. I have to attack outside the acquisition range, run in, attack once, maybe twice, it depends how fast your hero can attack, and then do it again. Step outside, attack in, you see I'm within that 500 range, and they do not care. Do it again, and this is how I attack Axe a lot. Now, they don't have any targets, so I was actually within that 3-second range where they shouldn't aggro to me, but the range creeps actually have no other target, so that's why they aggroed to me in this case. This is a good time to mention, spells do not draw creep aggro when it comes to this 500 acquisition range, so you can use spells without harassing. If the creeps do not have a target and they're like out here looking for a target and you use a spell on their ally, they will prioritize you because you have attacked their ally and then they will chase you. But when they already have their target, they will not draw aggro to you in the same way that an attack command will. Now, some heroes like Drow have an ability that modifies their auto attack. If you manually cast frost arrows, I don't know the exact game coding that allows this, but what I assume is that the game considers it a spell cast, and so the creeps will not draw aggro to you, even though your spell cast is really just a modified auto attack. So I'm going to manually cast frost arrows here, and you'll see that even though I'm within the attack range, the creeps don't care. But if you set your auto cast like frost arrows to autocast, and then you issue a normal command to Axe, you will attack with frost arrows, but the game then considers that an auto attack, and so it will draw creep aggro. So for example here, I'm going to attack Axe normally, and now they draw aggro to me. Now let's say you want to draw creep aggro, but there's no enemy hero in your lane. That's actually totally fine because this ability is global. Now you have to be within 500 range of the creep, so that part's not global, but you can attack any hero on the enemy team on the map, and because the actual attack does not matter, it is the act of issuing the command, I can issue an attack command on Lina when I'm standing within these 500 range of these creeps, and it will draw creep aggro. You can also use the top bar. This is new as of recently. I think it was supposed to work this way, and then it didn't, and now they've recently fixed it. So attack Lina, issue, walk up here, and you see they chase me because I couldn't see the Axe while he was hiding in the trees. I couldn't use a hero in this lane. So either one works. It's whatever is easiest, but you have to actually see the hero. So I know Axe is here, and I'm issuing the attack command on Axe's portrait, but it's not doing anything because I can't see Axe. Down that same train of thought, the creeps need to see the hero issuing an attack command to actually aggro to them. So Lich here is within 500 range of these melee creeps, but they don't see him because of this tree line. So Lich can actually just attack Axe from here, and he will not draw creep aggro. And in fact, it will also set the ability on cooldown still, and so he could attack from here and then walk into vision of the creeps and continue to attack, and it is still that 3-second duration where he is safe and he can continue to harass. So for example, you see he's attacking, and now the creeps do have vision of him, but they still didn't aggro to him because it already went on cooldown while he was out of range. This allows you to attack a bit more. For example, earlier we saw Drow have to stand out here, attack Axe, and then walk into range, and so she only gets 1 or 2 attacks before she has to step away. If you use the vision of the tree line and attack from fog, you can usually attack 3, maybe 4 times, depending how fast you are, without drawing creep. So there's more harass potential, and that's why you'll see so many supports play this area and try to harass, because it's easier to do that without drawing creep aggro, but it is still possible to do from down here just to a limited extent. You will also draw aggro when you damage enemy heroes. This is not the same as drawing aggro through issuing an attack command, but if I were to attack Axe or launch a spell at him or have damage over time on him, and he is near this creep wave within the 500 acquisition range of his own creeps, they will consider that an attack on their allied hero because it's within their acquisition range, and they will then go find the target that attacked Axe. So as Drow, I'm going to issue an attack command on Axe here. Even though I am well outside the acquisition range, you'll see that these 2 creeps were within the 500 range of Axe, and so they got mad that I attacked him, and they're going to come chase me. whereas these two creeps were outside of that 500 acquisition range of Axe, and so they just don't give a shit, and they just kept going on their usual behavior, which is to run down the lane. You have to be particularly careful when you have damage over time like Jakiro. If he were to use Dual Breath on Axe right now as the next creep wave is walking in, if Axe just runs away this way, it's fine, but if Axe runs into the creep wave within that 500 acquisition range, these creeps are going to see the damage Axe is taking, and they're going to say, who's damaging Axe? They're going to see the Jakiro, and they're going to aggro to the Jakiro if they have vision of Jakiro. If Jakiro is out of sight, then it's fine. But a lot of times people will Dual Breath and continue to chase the target. They'll be within vision, and then the creeps will aggro over. So I'm going to be Jakiro. I'm going to stay out of sight in this case after Dual Breathing Axe, and you'll see that they don't aggro. So Dual Breath on Axe, run away. Axe runs into the creep wave. He doesn't have vision of Jakiro, so the creeps don't care. Now this time I've given Axe an observer, and I've placed it right over here, so he will have vision of Jakiro this time. So Jakiro uses Dual Breath, stands over here out of sight, but now the creeps have vision of Jakiro, and they go, hey, someone's hurting Axe, let's go mess that guy up, and so now they aggro over to Jakiro. This can be a way for support players to know when there's vision, because you should have been out of sight because you're like back here or something, but the creeps still aggro, then you know the enemies had vision here as your damage was affecting the enemy hero, and the creeps aggroed from it. If you want to mess up creep equilibrium, like you're an offlane player trying to get it back, then you want to look for these opportunities when the enemies like Jakiro or Venomancer hit you with a damage over time spell, or you see a spell projectile coming in like a Skywrath Mage. The projectile's a little bit slow, so you have time to run over towards a creep wave that has no target, and they will then chase you. Again, if the creeps are fighting each other in the lane, remember we saw earlier, spells do not draw creep aggro in that case, and so if that's the situation you're fine. It is specifically further up in the lane, like up here or like back here if you're the position 4, like playing a little deep. You want to be careful of drawing the creep wave to you when they have no other target, and your spells will do that. Except for the very first creep wave that spawns. This creep wave cannot be aggroed whatsoever until they meet the enemy creeps here in front of their tower. So you can be behind the tower in those situations, and the creeps will just walk by. This is also why you see sometimes people harass enemy carries running to their lane, and the creeps just do not care even though you're within range. From the second creep wave until the 5-minute mark, the creeps cannot be aggroed until they reach within 1500 range of their tier 1 tower, which is somewhere around here where the Sand King is standing, a little closer I think, or neutral creeps are within their acquisition range. So the second wave, it doesn't really matter because there are no pull camps yet, but third wave onwards, if the pull camp like comes over here, then the aggro rules reset, and if the enemy position 4 was here, they could try to draw creep aggro away from that pull so that the pull doesn't happen, and then they like do a creep drag or something. So then just to show that, you see Lich is here, he's fine harassing until he gets a little closer to the tower, and now the creeps care. So this is 1500 range of the tower. Now they will aggro to me. You see heroes dying around the map because they are now drawing creep aggro once the creeps reach the 1500 range of the tier 1 tower, which means if you stand further up here or over here, then the creeps still will not care and they'll just walk past you. So if you're trying to do a creep drag in the early game, make sure you're somewhere here to actually draw creep aggro and not trying to do it over here. This worked in the past. If you're coming back from Dota from a long break, you used to be able to do this. It was so broken, that's why we changed it, and it now works the way it does. After 5 minutes, though, it's free-for-all. You can aggro the creeps from right here. They don't care. They'll just attack whoever's in their way. So now we know how to draw creep aggro, intentionally or not. Once you do, you can attempt to de-aggro the creeps if you don't want them attacking you. However, this is a bit of a misnomer, even though it's the most common terminology, and it causes a lot of confusion about why it doesn't seem to work sometimes. So what you do is you issue an attack command on your own creeps or an allied hero instead of the enemy units, and this will de-aggro. What's actually happening is that you are telling the units attacking you to reprioritize, and they will then go through their list of attack priorities, and if they have something more important to attack than you, they will switch targets and go attack. But there are situations where you are still the highest unit priority, and they will continue to attack you even though there are seemingly other things they are supposed to attack because we have de-aggroed them. That is not true. They are reprioritizing, and sometimes they reprioritize back to you. So I'm going to issue an attack command on my own creep here when I unpause. And what I think will happen, because it is a little messy sometimes, is that this melee creep and this melee creep, they're attacking me right now. But within their attack range is also these creeps, my allied creeps, that are attacking them. So when I de-aggro, the new priority is that I am just standing here. I am a hero passively standing here compared to creeps that are attacking them. So these creeps are going to take a higher priority because we're both within attack range. But this inner melee creep, I think, is the 100 attack range. I am within that attack range, but I don't think this creep is within the attack range. So I don't think this melee creep is going to stop attacking me when I try to de-aggro. This range creep is attacking me, and when I de-aggro, the closest attacking unit is going to be this melee creep. So I think this range creep will attack this melee creep. Let's find out. So here they're all attacking me. I attempt to de-aggro, and there we go. I am correct. In this situation, the melee creeps are already locked on to Ogre Magi. So even though I'm going to have Mirana attack them, Mirana becomes the highest priority target as a unit within acquisition range who is attacking their allies, aka them. But because they are already locked onto a target who is still within their attack range, they will not switch. Even if Ogre Magi issues an attack command on Mirana, like so, he is within their attack range and they do not switch. But if he steps out of their attack range, even without de-aggroing by clicking Mirana, they are going to reconsider their attack priority once he is out of their attack range, and they're going to go, holy shit, Mirana has been hitting us this whole time, let's go attack her. Even though this Ogre Magi is closer to us and within acquisition range, the Mirana further away is higher priority because she is attacking allies. If Ogre Magi draws Creep Aggro by issuing an attack command on ET, he cannot de-aggro them from himself by issuing attack commands on Mirana within those 3 seconds. But within that 3 seconds, your allies can actually draw the Creep Aggro to themselves by doing their own attack commands on enemy heroes. So I'm going to draw Creep Aggro as Mirana, and I'm going to try to call it back as Ogre right away. You see, it kind of worked. I think what happens here, which is why it gets messy, is that this melee creep who is still attacking Mirana had entered attack range of Mirana, and even though Ogre Magi does his own attack call, they are now both equivalent highest priority units. And so because he is already within attack range, he doesn't switch. These two were not within attack range, and even though they're both high priority, the highest priority, Ogre Magi's was the most recent call, so they go to him. I don't fully understand it, but that seems to be how it works. So if, say, Mirana is dying to creeps and she cannot get them off of herself, Ogre Magi, you guys supporting your carries or whatever, try to call the creeps to you to keep your allies safe. And it'll probably work, I don't know. Long story short, if you accidentally aggro creeps, it's more important to run out of their attack range, and then as you run away, try to A-click something on your own team, and ideally it's something on your path. So like running this way, it would be better to A-click the range creep in front of me so I don't have to turn, as compared to like this melee creep, in which case I'm going to stand still and turn to A-click it. We do have turn rates, if you didn't know, if you're like learning the game, so it literally takes time. It's not instant compared to some other MOBAs, so it'd be preferable to pick something in front of you. But like I said, the most important thing is to just run out of their attack range, and then because your creeps are in the lane and they're always looking to attack other creeps or enemy heroes, they will have high priorities on them. So either the 3 seconds will end because you drew Creep Aggro through an attack command, or they just happen to aggro to you, so you're not they're not locked onto you, they're willing to chase other things. Just run away, and eventually they will prioritize one of your creeps in the lane, and if you have no creeps, then just keep running and panic. By the way, catapults are the lowest attack priority of everything around them, so creeps will only attack catapults when there is nothing else. All the other creeps have to die, and if any enemy heroes walk into range, they will immediately switch from the catapult to the hero, because passive heroes are higher priority than even a catapult attacking a creep. So here you see Axe walks in and the creeps immediately switch, and there's no way for Axe to de-aggro these creeps back to the catapult unless he has like a blink or something to get out, and you eventually have to wait for like the next creep wave to come in before the creeps will get off of you. It's also why if you ever have a single catapult on its own attacking a neutral camp and you try to come up to farm it, the neutral camp switches from the catapult and immediately starts beating the shit out of you. I want to quickly talk about the neutral creep aggro because it follows a similar rule as the lane creeps, but not exactly. And it's another like fuzzy area where the wiki will say one thing, but they won't fully do it. So I'm like, who really knows? But when you attack neutral creeps, they have that same 3-second lock-on period where you cannot de-aggro them. They will chase you for that 3 seconds. After that 3 seconds, they will continue to chase you so long as you are within like the range, and at some point they will give up. Unlike lane creeps who will chase you to the ends of the earth so long as they have vision, they have a certain distance they will walk from the pull camp. It's called the leash range, but what that leash range is like fuzzy and it's not always matched up with what it's supposed to be. So I won't go into the specifics, but you've all seen it. You attack, you run, and at some point, like around here, they stop chasing and they walk back. It's supposed to be a distance / amount of time once they step out of the pull camp. So here we are. We issue an attack command. They are locked on. We try to de-aggro. These melee creeps chased for 3 seconds were not within attack range at the end of those 3 seconds where I was spam clicking Tusk to de-aggro, aka reprioritize, and they decided it's not worth it, I'm just going to go home. But this range creep is already in attack range, so he is going to continue to attack me until the end of his leash range, which is a certain amount of time once he has stepped outside of his pull camp. And you'll see that also works with lane creeps, which is why sometimes your pulls don't happen. But fortunately, the attack from this range creep launched, and so even though this range creep was outside the acquisition range of these melee creeps, I was within their acquisition range when I took damage, and so it's that same idea we saw earlier with the Jakiro and the Axe. They go, hey, who is hurting Marana? It is the pull camp, let's go there. When neutrals are in their resting state, even in the daytime where they're awake but just sitting in the camp, you can't aggro them unless you walk within their attack range, then they'll get mad at you. But once they are active because someone has hit them, they follow aggro rules, and you can actually draw creep aggro from them either by attacking them or by attacking an enemy hero, and that will actually do that same like creep aggro call. So here's the attack, and then here's me actually drawing them away. Even though I didn't issue an attack command, I was close to them within that 500 acquisition range. I issued an attack command, so they chose me. This gets messy, especially when you actually attack the creeps instead of the heroes. So it won't always work, but that's why you'll sometimes see them just turn around, and if you're trying to interrupt pulls, it's a very good thing to know. If these creeps are attacking, then you can just consider them as like lane creeps that are attacking, and these creeps don't like that, so they're going to attack back. But if these creeps are in runaway mode, they have given up on that leash range, they're not attacking the enemy creeps, they're just passive creeps that may be within acquisition range, but if something else comes in that is more important, they will not chase these, and they'll chase something else instead, so Marana can then interrupt at that time. So Pugna is going to attempt to pull here, and Marana could try to creep aggro these creeps away, but let's say she just messes that up. Let's have this pull go through. So she can now come in and draw aggro from these creeps for the 3 seconds, and in that time, these creeps ran away, so the pull was stopped. But let's say the pull happens, either because these creeps are still attacking, even if you try to draw creep aggro away, the 3 seconds pass, and they're still attacking, they get drawn in. Marana can draw the creep aggro by attacking Pugna, but she can't, like, end this neutral camp. Like, even if she tries to stop aggro by issuing an attack command on hers, I don't know. They're, like, in fight mode. So the de-aggroing of the neutral camp works when you're, like, doing the pull and they haven't started fighting. But I find, like, once the pull starts happening, there's not a trick to, like, draw the enemy aggro to yourself and then de-aggro the neutral camp at the same time. They want to fight the lane creeps, and so they will. So that's all I want to cover in this video. I'd say the most important things for you to understand after all of this is how to draw creep aggro and how to de-aggro it, how to use that to harass without drawing creep aggro, or how to intentionally draw creep aggro so you can pull them backwards in the lane to get a better position, and then also how to interrupt pull camps potentially. I'd say those are like the 4 most important lessons from this. There's actually a lot more advanced applications of this, mainly used to last hit and to mess with the enemy, but all of that is pretty advanced, and it's not strictly necessary until you reach a very high level of Dota. So I may make a separate video on that. If you guys are interested, let me know. But I think for most players in most brackets, if you can understand this like 4 topics and relatively like try to apply them, even if sometimes it doesn't work, it gets messy, that's okay. I think that's a very good place to start. And then I might cover tower aggro in a separate video because that's its own whole like confusing mess of aggro rules. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll try to answer them.